All right, I think we can get started here. Let folks flow in. Again, if anytime you guys want to jump on stage, come on ahead and throw up a request there for any cool cats, cool pets. Come up and hang out. Um, I want to get to our exciting guests as quickly as possible today, but I know that as usual, we got a number of things to cover. Hawkward's going to do a segment on the Chugs origami piece, so we'll save that for a bit. But first, what happened in the past week with Cool Cats? So we had a pretty unconventional, a very different town hall last Friday, where we saw a couple of things. We saw the Cooltopia documentary, which brought back really good memories about just Cooltopia and that awesome experience. But we also saw the launch of the first new character, Joe the Red Bird, who we later found out was named after Gij, who is Clon's wife. Awesome little tidbit there. And it's a character that Clon's been working on for a number of years. He has this whole character collection that we'll be seeing in the upcoming year, in the upcoming months. And Joe seems to be really the main star aside from Blue Cat. So I think on that launch, it looked like that they were saying Q4 launch this year. There's probably a ton of plans coming in terms of how they're going to roll out Joe. No specific mint details or anything like that. But really, the rest of Town Hall was like an old school session with Clon, just live streaming him drawing traits for Joe. I thought it was super fun. I like seeing everyone kind of like hang out there. But what was everyone else's take on that? Was everyone else able to make that?
I wasn't able to make it, but I know that in the past I've been to many of his streams, and it's really fun because it shows him engaging with the community, and he's really always paying attention to chat. So, I mean, I want to get around to him, but I know it was a big thing for a lot of other people, and I'm really glad he's doing them again.
I actually slept through the town hall by accident, but I went to go see if it was still happening, and Clown was streaming, and it was like such a pleasant surprise. I was like, "Oh my God, like the Clown streams are back." And like I think it was really smart of them to like kick it off following the town hall, just to kind of like give people a teaser of like what like our Twitch streams are about, because I know like a lot of people aren't really exposed to that kind of thing.
I slept through it too.
You guys are killing me here. Just everyone's very sleepy on a Friday. It must have been a tough week.
3 p.m. Eastern is like prime nap time for me.
Yeah, that's nap o'clock, man. We wait for you to get all the info, and then you run it back to us.
Oh
and
my
then we
God.
go off that.
I feel used and abused now.
Yes, sir.
But the main things I think that were cool coming out of that live stream were one, Klon just giving some backstory about, like I said, about the character. Two was there was one segment, and I tweeted about this, just him going through all the old Blue Cat traits and talking through Calvin and Hobbes, kind of inspiring the Tiger trait. There were a ton of other really quirky ones. There was the face mask one, which I think Sniper you vibed with. But I that was one of my favorite ones. I was like, I wish this was in the collection.
I think whenever he posted all the different faces, it just shows people like, I don't know, not only is he a really good artist, but it's just fun to see what he could have done. The traits. I mean, early on, me and Andrew would look through all the traits, and I was happy to see the Calvin and Hobbes. But yeah, seeing the ones like the mask, I had never seen that before, and it would have been really interesting just to like mark that time in the era. But I was glad he didn't go with a few of them, especially the diamond eyes. That one was a little creepy looking. If anybody saw that one, but no, I always like whenever he does these little streams.
That's awesome, yeah. And I think during the stream, he had also drawn for Joe like a kind of like a Sleepy Joe outfit. So that what was exciting was just he was taking off the cuff comments from the community. Hey, what should I draw? Someone was like, hey, can you draw like a beanie, a cap? And then it evolved into a Chugs beanie and kind of became a Chugs nightcap with the sleepy Chugs and with little arms and even a nightgown. So I was like, it was reassuring to kind of see Klon's just like a master of just like being able to draw things on the fly and be able to delight people. So I'm curious to see what's coming out of that. Do you guys have any preference or theories? I think one of the interesting things, and I don't know if you guys caught it, was after the live stream, Tom had gone into Discord and kind of poked the bear, and he was like, "Hey, so what would you guys like to see in terms of mint mechanics of Joe? Like, what would you like to see in terms of, collection quantity, all that?" And he was playing devil's advocate. He was kind of pushing everyone's buttons a little, but I think a lot was said. Pretty much everyone threw the kitchen sink at it. But do you guys have a preference on the amount of Joes that we see out there? Under 10K, over 10K? What's the sense these days for you guys?
Under. I still think that if we did, so people might hate me whenever I say this, and I apologize if the TV in the background is a little loud. But I would like to see. So say we have what? Say we have 5 characters. Get what? 2,000 Joes, 2,000 of the next, 2,000 of the next. They don't all have to be rolled out at once. Like, we don't have to get all 10,000 characters, but doing them 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, it would equal up to 10,000. Yes, but I feel like that would be an equal I can't think of the word, but that would be an equal way to split it up. And then, I mean, people might get upset at the fact that, oh, we only pushed out 2,000, so not everybody get them. If you throw out too many, it would just get diluted. People with pets would feel a little weird. So I think 2,000, maybe less. I'm not for the typical 10K. I think it would over dilute it, but that's just me personally. I don't want to speak for anyone else, of course. Just my thoughts.
It is pretty tricky, like Sniper was saying. Like you want to please current holders somehow, but you also like want to get more people into the ecosystem, right? So it's like, where do you strike that balance? And then also, like, I love that they're planning ahead, and I think like asking community input is like really bullish for me. Um, but it's also like happening in Q4, and so much can change in the meta by then. Like, who knows if like there's another NFT boom and suddenly like cool cats are like back on the moon and like there's such high demand that could call for like much different like drop mechanisms than what we're facing right now. But I do kind of like the idea of like the 2K, like, or even 4K, like you were saying. Just, not completely over diluting by having 10K of each new character so that by the time we're done, we have like what, 50,000. But still like kind of having enough to somehow like please current holders and like get more people involved.
Yeah, Zupa, I think you were in that 2K per character camp, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, Sniper took the words out of my mouth, pretty much what he said.
What's up, Sniper?
I would also like to see, like, even if we do 2K, I'm not saying like 1,500 have to go to cats, but I would like to see value driven to the cats in any aspect that we get another drop. I'm always wanting to see more value being driven to the cats. Not saying that they do a poor job of it or they haven't been trying to work on it, but that is one thing that I'm always wanting to see them continue to do. So, even if it's a small amount of number allocated to cats, whether you are that cat or not, I think that would be a really cool way for them to go about it as well. Possibly even pets.
Tasty Snacks, welcome to the Spaces. You got your hand up. What are your thoughts?
Hi, everyone. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Thanks for having me up. Besides the supply amount of Joes or any other future collections, I think my opinion is that I think that Joes should be hard to get. The team maybe can even learn something from like Moonbird's nesting. Like, say, for example, only people who have had their cool cat for X months is able to get a Joe or something along those lines, regardless of the supply. This sort of trickles out the supply of Joes. And as you were mentioning earlier, the story of Joe and the character of Joe doesn't really make sense without Blue Cat with it. So that might be one way to tie them together and make demand more scarce.
That's a really interesting concept. And I think I think it circles back to this question of what is the vision and purpose of these new characters? Are these new characters meant to expand the reach and inclusivity of cool cats and reach out to new people, similar to like how pets were going to be? Or is it supposed to be something completely different where it's meant to reward current holders and be something of value in that sense? I think without that answer, it's kind of, we're speculating, of course, but I think it just circles back to that question that I don't have an answer for, and I don't think anyone else does. It's if we think about this Joe launch in Q4, I don't know if that means that all these other characters are going to roll out, a few months later, or are the remaining 4 characters going to be quarterly for the rest of the year, for next year? At which point I'd say, if we're rolling out 2K, 4K collections like until December 2023, that seems kind of quite a long time to roll out like 10K NFTs. So I think there's just all these questions I have in my mind. It's like, what is the purpose of this? What's it all about?
I do think like it could like incentivize people to hold and accumulate cats if there is kind of something like, I don't know, a pool that's allotted for like a raffle for each like character release. And like, so like if you miss Joe, you could still get like the Fonz artwork or Anteater. But and then they could do their own like regular or more regular looking mint as well for the public.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for anyone that was on the live stream and the Discord after, I think what kills me about being in this space, that's like something I wrestle with a lot too, and I don't know if you guys are, is like when during that live stream, it kind of took you back to this like, oh my god, this artist and the art, so fun. I love just everything associated with that. But then once that live stream ends, you go into the Discord and it suddenly becomes like a trading discussion again, right? And about dilution, about oversupply, around, what's the right value here, and here, what's the utility? And it's always this balance in the NFT space where you're trying to appreciate the art, but also you're kind of like a trader as well too. So it's a struggle that I totally noticed just on Friday afterwards. And it's like there's some tragic elements of it, but there's also some reality to the whole thing.
Yeah, I kind of struggle with that too, but like I think it's even for like the original collection and like whatever they say comes with a Joe, I think my expectations were lower. I was like buying a PFP that maybe could breed later on, and not much more than that. But with the cool pets, I think the pressure is on a little bit more because they were more like marketed ahead of time as having like that utility. So we might touch on the cool pets a little later, but like that's kind of like a quandary I think we're in. Is like, how do we like not, how do we fulfill whatever was promised,
Totally. And we can talk about cool pets in a bit. Maybe let's jump to kind of just the state of cool pets after Tasty and then Sniper. You guys get in your thoughts on just this topic we've been talking about.
Yeah, following on to Hawkward's comment just now, I think beyond the like general state of the market right now, projects are in a pretty tough spot. I think holders don't necessarily know, like everybody wants the floor price to go up, but nobody knows exactly how to get there. And that's what's causing a lot of this discussion post, in the Discord and such. Like the demands of the NFT space change basically weekly, and the team sort of needs to be agile enough to keep up with that. But anything meaningful actually takes time to ideate and then build. I sort of feel like they're in a tough situation right now because if they execute on their current vision, everybody's going to think, oh, this is too little, too late, sort of what's happening with the game right now. If they decide to pivot to try and do something new, to Hawkward's point, they'll have all these people that are like, oh no, you promised us this XYZ thing 9 months ago. Where has it gone? So it's a tough space to be in for any project lead, I think.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought that up, Tacey, because I think there's a lot of people that speak almost deterministically in the space, especially in the Discord at times, where it's like, Cool Cats needs to do this. This is what should be done, and it's like they're speaking in certainties, but they truthfully, like they don't know for a fact that that will improve X, Y, and Z. So, and that might satisfy 20% of the holders, but not the rest of the 80%. So everyone's kind of like, when they speak deterministically, it's kind of satisfying their needs, but not necessarily the needs of the whole community. And to do that, it's never an easy answer. It's not a one solution that does it. So I agree with you. The team's in a tough spot. Sniper, what do you got?
I still think from what you said earlier, like how you watch the stream, you had a great feeling, and then you go back to the server, and it's not the same feeling that you had while watching the stream that you had just did. I think that it would still be, and this is for the team members listening in, it would be great to possibly do like a period where, I know Zane in the crowd does it for his server, where you take a break for a day or even the weekend. I think for a month maybe they should shut down the server once a day. I mean once a week, or for a couple of hours or something like that, and just allow people to take that break, because it's not the same server as it used to be. And I mean that's not even a lot of people's fault. That's only select few that feel a certain way, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I would love to see someone, I mean, at the Cool Cat team, just take that moment to just, maybe think about shutting down the server for a day or something. But that's just me. I wanted to throw that thought out there in the wind, because I've seen it work for other people. And I know Zane himself does it, and he has a lot of success with it. So maybe that's just something to think about.
We all promote mental health days. This could be one form of that. Let's transition to, this wasn't on the docket, but let's talk about Cool Pets for a second, since we got on that topic of just expectations and utility and things like that. I think I tweeted earlier in the day about this, which was, Cool Pets feel like such a different beast than Cool Cats or even this Joe launch. While Cool Cats and Joe felt so much around the artists and the art, Cool Pets really came out of the gate almost feeling like a functional NFT. And I'm kind of intentionally avoiding that word, the U word, the U word we all use in the space around NFTs, but it's kind of like functional in the sense that, like, there was supposed to be a function related to it, to use them in a quote unquote game like manner, in addition to the art. But it seems like, obviously, with we don't talk a ton about floor prices, but obviously floor prices have declined quite a bit for Cool Pets. And I get the sense that, a lot of people are itching for that sense of like, what can I do with my Cool Pet? I got my Cool Pet because I thought I could do something with it. But they've kind of struggled in delivering on that. Does anyone have any kind of similar takes or different takes on that?
Wasn't the purpose of the pets to, hatch them in Quest? That was the promise, right?
I think battling was also the promise too.
And battling, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's coming down the road.
They checked off 2 out of 3. So battling, they've hinted that it's coming.
I think a lot of people didn't expect a clicking game. Like, that's what, like, even though they tried to say that from the beginning, that this isn't going to be like Pokemon, where like you go out and battle Pokemon and you just start with this like whole 3D experience. I think a lot of people, whenever they played the game, they were let down, but they weren't let down because like Cool Cats brought a terrible game. It was like their own thoughts. Like, they let themselves
over speculation.
Yeah, like they were I don't know what they were thinking, but they kind of told them from the beginning, yo, this is gonna be more of a, this is how we're doing it. And I think people just was shooting for way higher thoughts, man. I mean, but at the end of the day, sometimes I do look at the Cool Pets and I'm like, beyond that, what more do you want from them? Like, I don't understand, to an extent. But I mean, if I see someone else is requesting, but I mean, if anyone else does have a negative, I definitely want to hear it and see, like, what were you expecting that you didn't get, or what did you think was promised and you didn't get that? because I fully want to hear it out.
Yeah, I mentioned in a couple episodes ago that like I think it was all about like framing of expectations. Like if they frame this as like an interactive NFT minting experience, like companion NFT experience, then they would have gotten a lot better sentiment, right? And it's like I don't like talking about floor prices quality of projects, but it does kind of reflect sentiment towards projects. So like I obviously a lot of people's expectations weren't fulfilled, and some of that's on them expecting like a completely playable, well, not play just playable, but like a Neopets level game on day one, where I knew this was a blockchain game that was going to roll out iteratively over time. So my expectations and having experienced that run for like a year and a half, like I knew we were in for a long ride full of hiccups and obstacles, but not a lot of people were like ready for that or expecting that. And then so they like day one when Cooltopia came out, I was like in CoolCats Discord. I'm like never in Discord, just trying to like get people to manage their expectations of a game on day one. But yeah, like I on the other hand, you know, like Cool Pets definitely has room for improvement in incentivizing users to like actively enjoy the game, because I think it's become you know it's fun at first, but then you start seeing like the same thing over and over again. And then even if new things are added on, like the gathering and boss quests, it's still, you know, the same clicking type game. So just finding ways to make it more fun and like make people enjoy like interacting with it is gonna definitely impact holder sentiment, I think.
I also think that people, whenever they would see the game come out, and then maybe a week later they would see something else in the space pop up, and they'd be like, "Oh, why don't ours look like that?" Not understanding that that team might have worked 2 years or 3 years prior to that release on that game, you know, and they're still building on this game, which is a big thing to me. I mean, they're trying to push stuff out. Like we got the boss quest. They're trying to be more responsive with this. So I mean, for the game, yeah, I think it's just expectations right now. I mean, that's the perfect word to put it. I did see that Ziff came on the stage though. So how you doing, brother?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I had two things I wanted to bring up. So the first thing, I guess, is still following the same train of thought about the pets. I'm not entirely sure what the best play would be from my perspective as a holder, but I do agree with what Goodnight brought up, which is kind of like, for whatever reason in my head too, and I've had a cat since like February or so. The pets still, for whatever reason to me, feel kind of like a clashing, I don't know what the word is, like concept to like the cats as well. It feels like maybe there should be something to separate them. I don't know if it's like, okay, you only have pets in the game or the web, you know, whatever it is, versus cats not being in that system. I don't know what the answer is. It does just, to me, it feels like there is kind of a separation of what they represent. And then the next thing I wanted to bring up was about what you guys were saying with Joe, which was that I liked the idea Sniper brought up, and most of the other people on stage, about kind of keeping the the relative like population of each of those characters smaller, and maybe adding up to 10K. I don't think it should be rolled out every 3 or 4 months for each one, like Goodnight said, but I also think just what you guys were talking about, where it's like, you know, watching Clon, I was only in there for like 15, 20 minutes, but watching him draw the character for Joe, I never got to experience that with Blue Cat, but it was really cool to see that with Joe. And I guess my point there is I'm not sure that the audience for the future characters should be geared towards trying to bring more people into the ecosystem, I guess. Obviously, you should try and bring some people in, but it really feels like that's kind of the spot that the pets fill, especially with the kind of lower price right now. It's like if you want to get into the Cool Cats ecosystem, that's your best way to do so. And it feels like the newer characters, the people who are going to be most interested in those are going to be current holders and stuff. So it's like what you said, you know, if we dropped 50,000 of these new characters, there's not going to be enough demand, in my opinion, for you know, just a bunch of people to absorb it. Maybe there is, but I guess my point is, it already seems like those characters are more connected to the cats themselves, like you guys were saying, and so that makes more sense to me. Not saying it should all go to Cool Cat holders, but I guess my point is, that seems to be the group of people that are going to be most interested in picking them up and kind of showing them off. And I do think time and time again, what I've seen is, you know, how you win in this space is really attention. And so, you know, if a bunch of cat holders are really happy with their new characters or whatever, and pet holders potentially, and they're flexing them on Twitter and that sort of thing, I don't know, and I don't know what the answer is for that or pets, but I guess that's kind of my take. Is it feels like those characters are more tied organically to like the original story of the cats versus like being used as a vehicle to like attract a bunch of more new people, I guess. So kind of rambled there, but hopefully that made a little bit of sense.
No, that makes sense to me. I think I bring up, whenever I bring up Cool Pets, it's not in the sense of like, why isn't the team doing anything? What's going on? I have a true fascination with just what Cool Pets role is in the history, this brief history of NFTs. This whole, like, you know, was a gamified hatch with gamification coming. And I if anything, I'm just more curious on how this whole thing plays out, and do things like this end up being successful? Because I think they really did swing for the fences early on with this concept. I would love to see Cool Pets to succeed, but I think the fact is it's a harder journey than anyone had ever expected, especially the team.
If we're still talking about Joe, I had something to say. If we moved on, that's cool too.
No, let's talk about Joe, and then I do want to get to our guest Jarvis after this. But
all
go
right.
ahead.
So this is a little speculative alpha, but I was at NFT NYC and I spoke with somebody extremely close to the team, and they were just. I'm like an introverted person, so for me to talk to them, my wife was with me, and I saw this person there, and I just decided, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go up to him, talk to him, say hi, introduce myself, and they were super welcoming, just really polite, just like wanted to know what got me into the cats and what I thought of the experience. So then I was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna ask them, like maybe I can sneak some alpha out of them. And I asked them, I said, so what's the future with Cool Cats, or future with Cooltopia? Because like obviously you guys put, or the experience, obviously you guys put so much money and time into this. This isn't going to be a one-time thing. And this person said to me, he's like, yeah, our goal is to like all the hashtag Cool Cats, what New York, hashtag Cool Cats Texas, whatever the community is, they're going to try and move that to Cooltopia around to each of those communities. So I was like, all right, that's cool. That's cool. So I was like, he was like, oh yeah, we're going to roll out these new pets Clon's working on. And I was like, huh. And he's like, yeah, what I'm thinking is, if there's some way that we could actually get the royalties from these pets to the Cool Cat holders. And I was like, well, you can't, that's like illegal security. He's like, I think I have a way around this. And I was like, okay. And he continued to talk, and like, obviously it could go nowhere, and I'm just, this caused me, when I got back from NFT NYC, I bought 3 new cats immediately off of this news. So like, whether they can work it out or not, but it's definitely something they're trying to reward the Cool Cat holders, and that's absolutely what I got from them. They were like, we want to see the Cool Cat holders succeed in this.
You're talking about equity in the company, right?
What's that?
You're talking about equity in the company.
What?
If for them being labeled as security, you're talking about them, people holding, being able to get equity in the company or the brand itself.
Yeah, I was just like, when he said give the royalties back to the holders, back to cat holders, I just assumed like that would be an illegal security. So but I don't know if there's like staking around that, or
it's an illegal security if you don't go through the proper process to make.
Yeah, I know
that's
exactly, yeah. But this person knows what they're doing. They've been around a long time, and for him to be like, yeah, I think I have a way around that, just perked my head up. But yeah, it would be illegal security unless they can find a way around it. But that's what I was told. That's why, for all the speculation about the Joe type of mint. Like, I don't think it's 20,000. You're not going to dilute it like they did cats or pets, and it's not going to be like 2,000 because it's just not enough. And you can't have the pets be scarcer than the cats, even if there is going to be 10,000 in the long run. You can't have. So like, I think they do 10,000 mint, and if they can come up with the way to get the royalties of the cats, I think that's the way they go. All right, that's all I got.
Thanks for sharing that. Now you got my head spinning with this unconfirmed alpha. Ziff, what's up?
My head's been spinning since I got that alpha, and even though like there's nowhere I can check it, there's nothing I can do. This is the first place I've shared it, just because whatever.
What if it was Jarvis? What if it was Jarvis that said this? Jarvis, was it you?
Yeah, you some guy who's lurking around Cooltopia. Yeah, this fits the bill.
It might have been Psyduck.
I do not think it was me. I'm like racking my brain to make sure I didn't have that conversation.
It was somebody on, like, it wasn't, they're on the team. They're team / like, they are 100% in the know.
I definitely want to say it's Psyduck or Andrew Wang. Just my personal get. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not. It's like, I consider them definitely part of, like, they're very close. They are out. They are not in this inner circle that I talk to.
I'll tell you, I have no clue who it was that you might have talked to, but you do bring up some very curious things. So now you have, like, I think Goodnight said it. Now you got my brain racked.
You guys can join me in racking our brains together.
I appreciate you coming up here, though, brother.
No problem.
You've opened my eyes to the Cool Cats Illuminati. There's some secret group out there that's in the know. I like this.
Cool Cats.
They're behind the Solana hack.
Oh God, Hawkward! Don't start with Solana. We know how much trouble you get into with that. I don't know if we're gonna have a ton of time to dive into Hawkward's topic of the Chugs booty, but we'll save that for next week, because we do want to make sure that we have time for our guest here. Hawkward, did you have something before we moved on from that?
No.
Okay, but we do have Hawkward doing a very special event at the end of this Spaces, so stay tuned for that. We'll after the Jarvis discussion, she has something to share with all of us. Jarvis, welcome to the Community Spaces. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you. Excited to be here for sure.
Awesome. So for those of you that don't know, Jarvis was crucial in overseeing the production of Cooltopia NFT and Cooltopia NYC. He worked with, for those that don't know, Cooltopia NYC was a partnership between the Cool Cats team and a creative agency called Media Monks. But to get all of that quarterbacked and executed correctly leading up to the event, during the event, and even after the event, you needed someone who was sound of mind, someone who could put a plan together in place, could work on effective communication, and Jarvis was the man that they brought in for the job. And since then, he's officially joined Cool Cats as the project manager, overseeing various things, which we hope to pick his brain on, including the merch store. And if you didn't know, Jarvis is actually a true NFT degen in nature. He's not just a project manager from Web 2 or whatever they brought off the streets. He's one of us, if not the best of us. So I'd love to dive into that piece too, to hear a bit about that. So again, welcome, Jarvis. And maybe you can start with this question, which is, when someone asks you, and I know it's been pretty early in your Cool Cats career, but when someone asks you, what do you do for Cool Cats? What do you say?
That's a good question. I kind of respond with, I try to manage all of the projects that have been given to me. There are a significant amount of projects that are going on all in parallel, right? Like, obviously you guys all know the pivot is happening, right? Between like going to more of a transmedia approach, trying to deliver more content. And to do that, we don't have all the resources. So whether it's helping with those projects, like outsourcing some of the work, or trying to get some of the support internally, getting schedules and the projects put together, managing the merch, like Evan had said, and basically just trying to glue as many loose ends together as I can, and continue like progress in the right direction towards like the pivot towards content and media.
Now, do you have a background in project management, or are you just always kind of like a problem solver, and that's kind of how you kind of evolved into this role?
Yeah, so my background is actually engineering, mechanical engineering by degree. I spent a lot of time in the aerospace industry designing jet turbine engines for military aircraft, and then kind of moved over into the private sector, developing like a new airplane out in California. And through all that, I started getting more into like management and program and project management. So I guess that's where a lot of my background came from. One of those aviation companies was a startup, and at the startup, you wear a lot of hats, whether it's managing like customer parties or managing a project or sitting on an airplane while you're pulling 2.5 Gs, monitoring instrumentation data. I've done it all. So it's like, working through all of those, it kind of translated nicely into Cool Cats. It's very, Evan kind of jokes all the time about like, man, I don't know how you do this. Like, how you're not stressed out. I'm like, this is a break for me. I feel not to that extent, but it's not as stressful as like safety and
Yeah,
critical path stuff.
you used to have people's lives in your hands.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but even just describing the kind of work you did before, it sounds like you really had to be like see things both from the forest and the trees. Like you had to zoom out, but you also had to be super detailed when need be. Is that something you're kind of bringing to the current role, you feel?
Yeah, I think it's more you just have to have an instinct of how to get through the forest, because a lot of times you don't have a chance to zoom out, but you get an instinct for which way to turn so that you get out in the right path, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Love
He's
to dive in.
speaking bird language. I love it.
Yeah, I know first. Yeah. Hawkward's bird ears perked up right there when we talked about forests and trees. Uh, from like we'll dive into the Cool Cats job, but I guess from a background perspective, um, tell us a bit about your history with NFTs, because I know you're rocking the Cool Cats profile now, and I believe you're like an OG Cool Cat. But other than that, you're usually rocking your golden moonbird as well too. So how did you get into NFTs, and what are some of the communities you've been kind of deeply involved with?
Okay, so busted. I did update my PFP just for the event tonight, so I didn't look out of place. But so I guess going back about 2 years ago, I stepped away from the aerospace engineering and actually started a legit startup with a co-founder of mine. He goes by Thumper. He and I developed this new like child safety product. We thought it was really good. Um, and we do still think it's good. We have like patents and everything underway for it. Like it's a good product. It's just we fell into a trap of like fundraising. And as we were fundraising, we were realizing like, man, all these companies are like investing in these Web3 companies and these NFT companies. Like, like why wouldn't they want to invest in hardware for kids safety? So we got kind of like pushed aside. But as we started meeting with more and more investors and VCs and starting seeing the trend towards NFTs and Web3, obviously then your curiosity peaks and you start, looking into it. And one of the angels that we were working with actually was like, I think it was like Panda Golf Squad or something. It ended up being a rug, but that's kind of where I started like getting involved and researching it. I think my first NFT was Cole's My Fucking Pickle. And I bought it on secondary. I didn't get to mint. And then
Oh
I
my
guess it all,
gosh.
yeah, right.
I was there. I remember.
Nice. Yep. I had this like huge like theory that my pickle was the perfect pickle. It was,
Good
it was
times,
like,
man. Good times.
yeah. And then, so that's kind of how I got started. And then I found MVHQ, Metaverse headquarters, and I just kind of fell into a home there. Like everyone was so welcoming, and there's a voice chat on like 24/7, and that's how like my NFT career really started like picking up. So then got into Cool Cats. I've been a gutter cat for a long time. I actually, and then so I guess between Gutter Cat Gang, Cool Cats are probably my longest two projects I've been a part of. And then Metaverse HQ, MVHQ, but it's kind of how everything started spiraling out of control. The Moonbird I have was like the luckiest thing ever. I sniped it. Somebody listed it and I sniped it off NFT Nerds for 6.5 ETH, and and that's credit again back to the roots. Would have never known about NFT Nerds or anything like that without MVHQ.
That's awesome. And I think that's kind of transitioning from there. I know MVHQ has a ton of folks that are kind of jointly in the Cool Cats community. I know Bex, shout out to Bex. We love the Bex in the audience there too. And this probably transitions more to how you got involved with Cooltopia. How did you end up getting pulled into the world of Cool Cats beyond just being a holder?
So all roads lead back to Bex. We love the Bex as well. Bex and I became really close friends through MVHQ. She, whether it was like she would always help me or I would always help her, like inside of the Discord, new mints and speculating on stuff. And then, I think there was one night we were just like a voice chat or something, and Bex was like, we were talking about NFT NYC, and I was trying to get as much alpha as I could of like, what's going on, Bex? Like, are you guys doing anything big? And like one thing led to another. We were talking about like how big of an importance it is to the Cool Cats to execute. I've only owned like maximum 2 cats at any given time, but like I'm always kind of bag protecting at the same time. So, and then, I was like, man, if you guys ever need like a project manager or anyone to help out, like certainly let me know. And then a week or two later, I was part of the team. It was a crazy spiraling. It was like a good conversation. Bex is such a good friend and such a good person that it just ended up working out. And I'm glad I was able to come in and help the Cool Cats like execute on NFT NYC.
That's awesome. Did you have to pitch the team on anything, or did they just kind of pull you in and be like, yeah, Jarvis seems like the right guy for this?
I think Bex did most of the pitching, honestly. I wasn't really involved. I did have several phone calls with the CMO at the time and Ken Cron, and just making sure that all the expectations were aligned. And I think I even said to Ken at one point, I was like, I'm my own biggest critic, and if and Cooltopia is a failure, it's on me, and like it's on nobody else. And I think he took that resonated well with him, and shortly thereafter, I was part of the team helping out. So, and that's just the motto I live by. I'm the biggest critic of my own work, and if I'm not happy with it, then I'm sure nobody else is going to be happy with it either.
Yeah, Cooltopia NYC was such a unique event in its nature. There are very few things like it. I guess my question is, and don't take this the wrong way, it's kind of like, how did you think you were, like, how did you feel confident that you would pull something like this off, having never done something like this event, which is so unique in nature?
Well, that's a great question. I think the intent is that with the right team, anything can be accomplished. And the only thing I needed to do is make sure that all the loose ends were tied and everything was progressing to schedule. And a lot of that falls back to the project manager to make sure communication is happening. And so, it's not like I'm not saying I'm the only person in the world that could have done it. I say this all the time, and I think I even told Bex like that week. I was like, there's thousands of qualified project managers that could have done what I've done, or did what I did for Cooltopia. It's just a matter of like, outside of like my confidence, like I'm not cocky necessarily, but I felt like, with Media Monks engaged and with a good enough plan that we were going to be able to pull off something that made people happy regardless. So, anyone could have done it. Long story short, it didn't have to be me. And I'm just glad it was, because it was a lot of fun and a great experience overall.
And was it true that, it was kind of 6 months in the making? Does that sound about right? Were you pulled in at that phase, or was it much later and before the actual event? But before the actual event started?
So I started at the very beginning of May, and that's effectively when they signed the statement of work with Media Monks. And so, but they were, before that, they were planning, like, they were courting different agencies and getting all of the contract details laid out of like what the expectation was. And even a lot of the like activities and stuff were almost already kind of ironed out as far as like what zones, like how they were going to have a different gamified zone and stuff like that. And then from there, it was a matter of like executing on what it was going to look like, how all the tech and the game was going to work, and the music and all the other features weren't factored in at that point. So like the general gist was there at the beginning of May, and then it was a matter of like executing from like the white paper concept to execution. So it's about 2 months.
Gotcha. And if anyone was at Cooltopia and saw a guy just like running around with purpose, that was Jarvis. You always seem to have a task at hand, some fire drill, some fire to put out. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you were at Cooltopia? And I'm more curious, like, what were things that you went into it thinking would be easy, but ended up being a huge pain in the ass?
Oh man, so I think the thing that we were most confident on was that the plushies were going to get into town on time. You know, we were air freighting them, and like Toy Keto had it all aligned. And then like 4 nights before Cooltopia started, we got a call that was like, hey, the plushies have been locked up in customs for 3 days and we can't get them out. And I was like, oh no, this is the one thing we couldn't mess up. And so that was probably the most like scary thing, because, you know, we didn't have control. Like we literally, they were, you know, Toy Keto had multiple people, multiple reps, like calling, trying to sort out like what was going on. And ultimately what it was is like, it wasn't even customs or anything with the paperwork. It was like some silly like regulation thing of like child safety for new products, and they needed to review it. But even though all the paperwork was intact and the reviewer was out of town, and they ended up, Toy Keto ended up sorting it out, and we got them in like 2 nights before the event. But it was hectic, and very scary for a moment. And then I guess beyond, you know, the plushies getting held up in customs, I think the other biggest struggle, and you probably saw the photos, I was really concerned as soon as we were running like really low on bracelets, on how the community was going to perceive like us effectively selling out and not allowing people to come in. And I was hoping that we'd have enough bracelets to at least justify shutting down early so we could get ready for the VIP party. But unfortunately, we ran out of bracelets like an hour or two too early, so we had to communicate, and we had a lot of upset people outside. And that's my biggest thing. I'm a customer too, right? So I don't want to be stuck outside when I knew I could have been going to the event, and I hate to put people in that predicament. And that was probably the most difficult thing for me, is like making sure that those people were, you know, at least communicated with. There were some very upset people outside of that, even after trying to give them like plushies as like a parting gift or whatever we could. There were still upset people, and you know, I just wanted everyone to be happy. Happy cats are happy life for me.
Yeah, I'm so glad someone took that hero shot photo of you handing out the plushies, because I thought that was just such a good act of goodwill, just in terms of making sure people had some sort of consolation thing they could walk away with. I thought that was awesome. So thanks, Hawkward, too, for pinning that. Hawkward and others, did you guys see Jarvis running around during the event?
Oh yeah, he like saw me before I saw him, I feel like, because I got there with Vinny and Danny Ukes, and like he was like, "Oh, you guys should have been like given a golden ticket or something," and like so he like shuffled us around and made sure like we got to see the people we came to see and stuff, and it was great. And then of course I had to coordinate Andrew's arrival, so Jarvis was like, "Oh, let me know like when we can get Andrew in," because like obviously Andrew had to see his own house. But it was really great to coordinate with him. He was like, hearing he's a jet engine engineer like makes so much sense to me, because like you have to be doing like a million things at once, and like everyone says this is like he was just running around like looking like he was like already on his like next task, and like but also like managing the present moment at the same time. It was like amazing to see, and like hearing that he was hired by Cool Cat's team like for full-time staff, that was like so bullish for me.
Well, Hawkward, I appreciate the kind words, and obviously I've been part of like the Cool Cats community since like July of last year. So, you know, you get to know who like the more vocal people are, or who the more like community-based people are that need to be taken care of. So, as soon as I saw you and Danny come in, I was like, oh man, what are they doing waiting around? And just so you know, I will pick you up from Walmart anytime you need. Just give me a call or a
I'd
text.
actually believe it,
For sure.
Yeah, he'll be on time there before Hawkward even shows up. So he'll.
Yeah, I won't even
Yeah,
realize
so
I
just.
texted him.
Yeah. I would be a nervous wreck if I had been in your position, Jarvis, just like trying to put out all the fires. Like, I guess my question is like, did you have fun? Were there any moments of delight or joy that you had over the course of those handful of days? Are there a few things you can pick out?
So I guess I'm weird, right? Like I kind of thrive in the midst of chaos. So it's fun for me to do that and to be completely focused on tasks and making sure that things are getting taken care of. That's what I enjoy doing. If even if that's like at home or like walking around with the kids at Disneyland, like there's always something going on, and I always try to stay 2 steps ahead of whatever could be hitting me from behind. So I thrive in that, and I enjoyed that a lot. Bex and I got to meet up a couple of times and just like hang out and chat, which was really enjoyable. Like she's very good at like de-stressing everybody. Like she's always so chill. And then outside of that, like I have like MVHQ had a meetup that I was able to sneak away for like 30 minutes for, and then I snuck out to a soccer match at Yankee Stadium with another NFT collection I'm a part of, the ticket. So it was, outside of that, I made the most of it. My family came up, and honestly, I guess thinking through the whole thing, I think my favorite part of the whole week was when my wife and kids were there. We actually, like that morning, one of the mornings, we went over to Central Park and we had breakfast, like as a family, just at the picnic area, and played on the playground for a couple hours, for like an hour, and then got back to Cooltopia, and then they got to experience that with me. And I think, overall, between all those moments, I was able to make most of the week, even though it looked like I was kind of running around crazy.
Yeah, that was awesome that you were able to bring your family there. I think the morning I got to New York and went straight to Cooltopia, I think I saw you. I didn't know you, but I saw like a guy with his wife and 2 kids and just like going in very early to Cooltopia. And I think I captured some video of that, but everyone looked like they were having a blast there. So that was awesome to see.
Yeah, I was a little frustrated. I did not get the highest or the lowest time on Furs Lava. I planned out my route for like 3 days and I still failed to execute. But I'll get you guys next year for sure.
I think I got the slowest time. Like, not even joking. Like, I think I got the slowest time.
Were you running around with your worm, Hawkward? I felt like
I wasn't even running. I was speed walking.
Hawkward, I think you might have beaten Evan or Elu. He like fell into the foam pit on his and then tried to like roll through it.
Oh,
I'm sure he
I
took
might
way
have beat
longer.
Andrew still because he wiped out.
Oh yeah, that too, for sure.
I think all of y'all beat mine.
Oh, Sniper, next time.
Jarvis, you're a man of numbers as well too, a man of spreadsheets. You mentioned that you pulled a ton of analytics, ton of numbers coming out of Cooltopia. Is there anything interesting from that you'd like to share with us, just in terms of attendance or holders versus non-holders, or anything we're not thinking of that caught your eye?
So, okay, yeah, I am a fan of numbers, and I really think that Cooltopia was the first time, the Cool Cats have had a chance to serve their community, and all of the data that we were collecting. I think the most important parts are where were people spending the most of their time, where were they spending most of their money or most of their milk points, and were they enjoying it overall? And then we can take all this data, reduce it, figure out how to cater a better event next time. So that's why the data is important to us right now. And I think, and I did pull up the data just so that I could talk through this, but there were 442,776 minutes spent inside of Cooltopia between all the people that came there. So 442,000 minutes of IP consumption, which is significant in real life, right? Like that, it's probably unheard of. And like there were even things that we did to make sure that like moving the line inside instead of outside, so people weren't like waiting in the heat or the rain, and moving the line inside, and then making sure the hallways and the TV screens all had content so that people could absorb it and enjoy and not feel like they're maybe more feel like they're at Disneyland as opposed to like waiting outside in the rain or heat. And then some of the other stuff. So holders were about 25% of everyone that came. So 75% of the people were either guests of Cool Cat holders or non-holders at all, which is significant to us. We had, and everybody left with merch, and we made sure the very last thing, even if you didn't go through the line, we made sure that the very last thing you got was at least one thing, like the little heart plushie on a keychain, because we wanted to make sure all 4,806 people that came through all got something from us and were able to carry it home with them and enjoy the content and enjoy the IP well beyond the event. So those are big statistics for us. And on average, people were spending about 70 minutes inside of Cooltopia. Between the 3 days, it was 69 to 70 minutes on average
Nice.
for each person. Yeah, 69 only minutes actually. And the funniest part, the longest residency, somebody spent 285 minutes like inside of Cooltopia, which is they were going hard. But I guess for us, the consumption of the IP, where people wanted to spend their time, and how much like how much they were willing to do, how many loot crates were opened. Actually, let's see. Loot crates were opened 25,678 times. Like it's significant for us because every time you did it, even though like the crates were a little clunky, and that's something that we can improve for next time, you still got the satisfaction, the dopamine of like as the crate opens, and that happened 25,000 times. And to reliably do that with the tech itself, like the NFC tech, and the crates, could use an improvement, but it's just really exciting to see people wanting to do those types of quests and wanting to be a part of the IP and the gamified system, because it leverages it speaks significantly to like what we can do next time. And I hope that we're able to execute as well as we did here, because it was overall amazing. And I hope that everyone walked away with a smile on their face.
I think those crates and the treasure box crates, and then like the tagging during the game, are so underrated. Like just how seamless those were, how it gets recorded right away to your bracelet, and you're able to go to the merch store and just have that pull up. It was amazing. I don't think it gets enough credit that it did. It's one of those things where it works so seamlessly, you just take it for granted because you're like, how else would it work? From a merch perspective, speaking of that point, what did you see that most people were redeeming their points for? Do we have numbers on kind of like what people were really gravitating towards from like point redemption, but also from just fiat purchases? Like what was the most popular thing? Was it the blue cat head, the chugs, or was it apparel?
Oh yeah, the plush, the blue cat head plush was like the number one in both. But behind the scenes, what you guys weren't seeing, and I don't even know if I should necessarily admit this, but like we were actually modifying point totals of like game outputs and merch redemption outputs to actually slow things down or speed things up when like behind the scenes, kind of seamlessly, so you guys wouldn't even necessarily see it happening. But we were doing this in order to like kind of throttle the consumption of like one specific thing. So if like, for instance, the first day, like fanny packs were just like, for some reason, they're just like flying off the shelf. We're like, we need to increase the price like ASAP, or else, they're going to be gone before we get to tomorrow. So, there, because of that throttling of like price and totals, we were able to kind of balance everything out. So it wasn't like one specific product was taking over. And obviously we still need to do improvement because like we ran out of Chugs hoodies a little bit early. And we underestimated the amount, the demand for those, like on the purchased side. So there's lessons learned there regardless, but we were working behind the scenes to help to change it. Oh, and just to clarify, we were only changing the points totals for claiming. We weren't changing like the fiat prices, if anything. Those all stayed consistent. We didn't want to, obviously we weren't going to manipulate those and make people pay more the next day or something.
You guys are blowing my mind. It was a rigged game, but in a good way. That's crazy. You guys were doing that. Wow. You alluded to, I guess, like, oh, next time, well, it'll help us for future things. What can you? I know we're not looking for like the alpha on like when's the next event. Well, we are looking for the alpha on when's the next event, but we know we don't expect you to give that to us. But maybe you can talk us through just like the vision of Cool Cats as it relates to in real life events potentially. What's kind of what are the aspirations there and the reach?
So I guess without going into too much detail, I think the important thing, and Goodnight, you actually touched on this like today on one of your like asks, but like obviously if we released 50,000 NFTs, like there's not enough NFT collectors to like distribute those nicely, right? Like it's just going to be like a hoarding event. Metal's going to own up. He's still going to own like the number 2 holder of Joe's and Artie's, and like so that's going to happen no matter what, and the distribution is going to be relatively the same, right? But outside of like speculation of like what the drops are going to be for the next characters, I think it's important to get this IP again into more people's hands, whether that's plushies or content, like video content or games, and people that aren't even necessarily collecting the NFTs, but at least appreciating the content, purchasing the merch, involved in a different way, maybe getting on Discord, but maybe not. Maybe they just like watching YouTube videos, or maybe they're like, so there's a lot of other ways that we can grow the community without necessarily using NFTs as the vehicle. And I think that would be the most important thing for us, because NFTs are not for everybody, and I think that collections like the Cool Cats and the founders and the board understand that. And so how else do you get it into their hands? And maybe you find like the paper cats, right? The paper cats were, if those ever come to fruition, it's one of those things where it's a low effort, but you get involved. But some people might be sketched out by NFTs, and I understand that from my standpoint. So how else do you get them to consume and be a part of the community? I think is the next logical step. And events outside of Cooltopia, if we can get another spot on Fifth Avenue and we can get more normal people and families to come in and enjoy the IP, I think that's critical for success.
Totally. I'd love to dive more into your role in Cool Cats right now as project manager, but before we move on from Cooltopia, do any of the other co-hosts have any questions just on Cooltopia for Jarvis? I know there's so much we can dive into there, but I'm just curious if anything was picking your guys' brain.
Just the last thing Jarvis said really resonated with me, because it's like that was my main takeaway of Cooltopia, was like, wow, we need to get this IP in like everyday people's hands, because like they have such big ambitions. So like it's nice to see that, like, Jarvis, you're thinking of that like first and foremost, because I think that's like a really good like strength of Cool Cats, is just like it can resonate with people like who don't know what NFTs are.
Yeah, it's the strongest IP in the game, and like in my opinion, for not necessarily strongest IP, but more the most versatile, right? It appeals to the most amount of people from ages 2 to 92. I think that there's something that somebody can relate to here, and I can't say that for all the other collections.
Is there anything from the event that you kind of wish you could redo, or another way to ask it is, is there anything you want to do differently next time?
Oh yeah, I have like a whole list of things that I would want to improve. I think one of the biggest things that somebody, we had like a big debrief like with the Media Monks team, and I, for me would be, when after you guys got your final plushie and you checked out for the day, and you go down the stairs and you go out through that like the warehouse of where we had stored goods. I felt like that was like a detached moment of like, we spent so much time on everything else that like we figured, oh, it's the exit, but that's the last thing you remember as you're leaving this experience. And I wish we could have done something special there too, outside of the checkout, put up some walls and let people like get one last glimpse and find a neat way to say goodbye. I think would have been really cool. And then outside of that, I want to improve like lines. Like our biggest holdup internally, like in the shop, was like the merch, and obviously it was like a Chuck E. Cheese moment for everybody. They have all these points, and then they get up to the menu, and they're like, or not the menu. They get up to the redemption area, and they're like, I want this and that, and that's something we completely underestimated. We originally had only 3 kiosks there, um, but luckily we had like backup tablets, and we ended up adding 2 extra tablets, 2 extra employees, so we had 5 total redemption spots there. And even then, the merch line was still backed up. So we needed to do a better job next time of like filtering those people out and monitoring those bottlenecks. When going into the event, we thought the longest bottleneck of the event was going to be the Rock the Boat game, because there were 4 people. Each game was like roughly a minute and 45 seconds. And that is a bottleneck, right? Like that is a time that you can like tact and make sure that people are. We thought that was going to be the longest pole in the tent, and it turned out that it was the merch. Luckily, we had a backup plan, and even executing the backup plan, we still didn't execute as well as I wanted to. So I guess between minimizing the lines and the throughput, like internally, and then giving a nice goodbye, would be the 2 things that I'd really want to improve for next time.
Yeah, the nice goodbye feels like a nice touch, but to your earlier comment, I thought the little kind of heart plush that you guys gave to everyone was an amazing touch, because everyone walked out of there regardless if you didn't pay for something with fiat, or you didn't want to wait in the line to redeem your milk coins. Like, you walked away with something that you could take home, clip on your backpack, clip on something, and just have something from that experience. So I thought that was a really unique way of saying goodbye to people that came to the event. So great job on that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and
yeah,
by the way, that was the most merch item, right? We gave away like 4,900 of those things total. So
insane.
There's almost 5,000 of them floating around the world.
It's awesome. Now we transition to the Cool Cats team. How do you go from kind of helping out, being contracted to help out with Cooltopia, to being on the Cool Cats team? How did that happen?
So I think that happened like in the middle of the event, where obviously Ken and Clon and Evan were there, right? Jeej was there, and they all kind of saw how I was working and how well the event was going. So we just had like very high level conversations at that point of like, we want to keep this going. And so after the event, there was a lot of like, obviously debrief and things we had to close out, get merch shipped around. And so I still had work to do. But then it was like kind of figuring out after that, like what else, could I support on, and where else could I, like a project manager, be useful? So talking with Link and talking with Evan, that we did end up finding quite a bit of opportunity for support, and now I'm like full-time, if not full-time plus, like supporting different projects and different initiatives internally.
And personally, what convinced you in taking that leap? Obviously, we're on a very biased like Cool Cats Community Spaces, but we know that we're at the time that you're making this decision, we're in a bear market. We're still in a bear market. Everything is tenuous. How did you take that leap of faith? What convinced you?
So I'm a cool cat for life. Like it was almost like a no-brainer for me to like come on board. Obviously, there were some like hesitancies with what I would actually be doing, because it's not like you need a full year to plan the next NFT at NYC. It'd be we'd take over the whole city if we had that much time. So like what else could I help on and be effective and be satisfied technically, or maybe not technically, but like make sure that it's like being beneficial to both the Cool Cats and myself. And we found enough opportunities, I think, to make that happen, and that's what I've been working through.
That's awesome. So let's dive into that a bit. So like I always feel like a project manager is critical for any company. Like project managers are kind of the glue that pulls together the dependencies between teams, make sure really everyone's kind of accountable on not only delivering on their part, delivering on it well, but delivering on it on time. So like a project manager is the delivery person. They're kind of responsible at the end of the day, say like, yeah, we delivered this by November because we've worked with all these teams to figure out like all the roadblocks, all the blockers, everything's clear, and we're kind of at the finish line there. So I guess I think we've always looked at Cool Cats as like holder community and always sought Cool Cats to find someone like you, because we know that marketing plays a huge role. And if the game is coming out with new features, is marketing informed? Do they have a plan around that? Is something being teased in the appropriate way for a launch? Is in real life getting the proper level of holder engagement and the logistics around that, all the stuff that you worked on. So there's just so many teams that we hear about in Cool Cats, and I think we're always wondering like, how do they all work together to get things out the door in a very like effective way for all audiences. So can you, without getting into specifics, can you tell us about some of the departments that you're seeing yourself get involved with, and how a project manager kind of pours the glue?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, I think going into NFT NYC, you know, we had the learning experience with all of us of like how to work back then, with how to work with Clon on getting art, and how to work with Evan on getting merch, and like there were the learning experiences were kind of out of the way, to the point where they started, obviously you go from like no trust to starting to trust, and then starting to allow to make decisions. So then coming on some of these newer projects, it's much easier for me because that history has already been there and established, and they trust me for decisions on certain things, and I can move forward. And they also know, like, when I do ping them, that they end up getting back to me pretty quickly on like a response of like getting me like, I don't care, just choose, or I have a preference and this is what I would like. And I think some of the projects that I'm working on now, I'm literally talking to all four founders, the tech group, the art director, all at the same day. Like there's things going on that are require all facets of the company to kind of come together and execute on, and that's what I have been helping out doing. Obviously putting together a project schedule helps, so that we at least have a stake in the ground on the right hand side, and then we work backwards from there and try to execute. And obviously things are going to slip, things are going to happen, but at least we have the quote unquote glue that kind of holds it all together, so that if things do start slipping, you redirect and figure out how to resolve those problems as they come up, and move the schedule or move the budget if necessary. But I think a lot of this is it's not new to anybody there, or like anybody on the team, but it's a newer working experience for everybody on the team currently, right? So it I've been well received. Everyone's been super responsive, and they're helping make my job so much easier. And really just tying those loose ends together, I think is you'll see some great products coming out in the future, and I hope that they're received well, and you do start seeing some of that execution at a much higher level, and a trusted execution at that.
That's amazing, and I'm glad to hear you're well received. I think project managers can either be seen as like the helpful person, or people see them as like the nagging person who's telling them to get their work done in a specific time period?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a delicate balance that you have to learn of like which battles to fight, and when to push, and when to lay off. So I've been doing it for a very long time and still learning every day. But the team makes it super easy. Everyone's super motivated. There's no slackers or anything. So it's like it's a very good environment to be in from my standpoint, my role.
That's awesome. And I guess for a bit of a hopium and bullish sentiment in your time with Cool Cats, like what are some positive things that you're coming away with, having worked with the team closer here over the past few months now? What gets you excited about waking up and working for Cool Cats?
Some of the stuff I'm working on is super exciting. I get excited about it because as a holder, or as a Cool Cat or as a degen, I think that I would appreciate it as a customer, and get like even to the lowest level of like merch, right? Like satisfying some of the needs there. I think that there's a lot of good direction, and there's approval to move forward on some of this stuff. And once we start executing and delivering, I think I will be happy, and therefore I hope other people will be happy as well.
Yeah, I love that you kind of keep bringing up that, how you as a holder respond to it. I think folks like you and Bex, who kind of are ultimate NFT degens in this space, like are kind of the voice of the user. And from like a product management, from a product creation standpoint, it's always important to listen to kind of the voice of the user there. So like having you guys on the team and providing that facet, that specific persona of like user experience is critical. So I'm glad you're talking like that and always thinking like that, because I think that'll make us really happy at the end of the day as holders.
Well, I can't take any more credit for it. Now I just listen to your space every week, and I take notes, and then I bring that back to the team. It's the easy button.
Yeah, it's like a user feedback session just right here. Every Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, everyone. What other questions do you guys have for Jarvis? I think I'm so bullish on not just Jarvis, but like the execution of the team going forward, knowing that they have someone like Jarvis on there, just gluing everything together.
Yeah, I'm just straight up smiling because like empathy is such like a good superpower to have for a project where you can put yourself in the customer's shoes, and like Jarvis is just exhibiting like he full awareness of like the Cool Cats experience both inside Cooltopia and outside. Like talking about the exit, yeah, like I noticed the exit was kind of like this is kind of weird, but it didn't like ruin my whole experience. But he's like literally like digging into like how can we make this better, how can we leave Cooltopia feeling like you just walked back into like New York City without having to go through a warehouse. So like I don't know, the attention to detail and customer experiences made me like so excited about what's coming. I don't want to be like hyping anything or like speculative or anything, but just to know that like you as a user are excited and proud of what you're doing as an employee, I think it's just like the key here.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your like sentiment on walking into a warehouse, because that's how I felt like the first time I left. I'm like, oh man, like we missed. But we'll make it better for next time. And
Yeah,
you know,
it
10
was
years.
really no big deal. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. Where am
Yeah,
I?
it probably 95% of the people didn't realize it. And then I mention it, and they're like, oh man, you're right, it was a warehouse. Like, and so it's just those details. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm always trying to stay two steps ahead of you guys. And if I can stay two steps ahead of you guys, then we're going to be in pretty good shape. And obviously there's going to be moments where I'm not going to be able to do that, and that's where I have to like step back and apologize, and make sure we improve for the future.
Yeah, I always feel like bad being two steps behind though, because like I'm commenting on stuff and I'm like, I know they're like planning stuff and working hard, and I hate to, be labeled as a futter, but we're all kind of nitpicking and seeing like how we can improve from this. But like, I guess my question for you would be like, as the engineer of this like engine that is Cool Cats, what is like the main thing you would want to like fix up or like touch up first to get it like running smoothly again?
That's a great question. I think the only, I wish there were more project managers that could help. There's a significant amount of employees all tasked with different things. And I'm only one person, so therefore I wouldn't be able to necessarily help manage everything from a project management standpoint. I'm not saying that the Cool Cats necessarily need another project manager, because I do think that things are moving in the right direction on various projects that I'm not involved with. Um, and the cadence of like the output is appropriate, so it's not necessarily needed. But I will say, like, as the company begins to grow, I hope they see value in the role and the output that I'm giving them, and want to bring on more people like myself that can help execute better and distribute the load a little bit more between all the groups as well. I think is going to be most important, as like everything starts to get bigger.
I fully agree with that because, before you got brought on board, I was pointing out one of the biggest challenges they have is like they're trying to do so many things at once, and you need people to coordinate that, right? So like hearing how you're kind of filling in your new role, it's really encouraging, and I hope you don't get too overwhelmed by it.
No, no, no. It's like I said, it's low stress for me. Even some of the stressful situations are not high stress for me. So I'm in good shape. The team's always looking out for me too. So it's a good working environment. Everyone's so welcoming and helpful that like success is um, you know success will be pretty easy because the team makes it that way, and that's what's most important to me right now.
This man kept jets in the air. He's like, I can get blue plushies out the door. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I've had bigger issues than this for sure.
Sniper, what do you got?
I did want to say I've been really quiet since Jarvis has got up here, but I do want to say, even though we haven't got to speak a lot, I know how much work you've been putting in, and I've been really excited just hearing like what you bring to Cool Cats, how you compose yourself, and just like how you carry yourself. And I just want to say, from me to you, I'm really excited to have you on the team, and I'm really excited to see what you can do. And thank you so much for everything that you have done. And yeah, just thanks for being a part of the Cats, man.
Nah, thank you. Thank you for being such a good part of the community, and so helpful to me taking notes every week. And also, I wanted to mention, I hope you feel better. I know you've been going through some shit, and I'm always around if you ever need anything. I certainly hope everything gets better soon.
No, dude, I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it. But just know, man, every time that I hear about your name, it's always positive things. Always Jarvis was running around in NYC. So unfortunate that I couldn't meet you out there, but I know that we're going to meet in the future for sure, brother. So keep being great, man, and just keep doing what you do. I'm really excited to see what you're bringing to the table.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, and we'll definitely get together soon enough.
Jarvis, can't thank you enough for coming on Space this week and being our guest. It was awesome talking to you, and I think you, like Hawkward said, you left us all with smiles on our faces. So thanks again.
No, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. I'm always around if you guys ever need anything, or want to like swing me a DM or discuss, or if you have issues with your merch, feel free to hit me up on the merch at CoolCatsNFT.com. I'd say that because the Goodnight had an issue with his order that we're trying to sort out. But in all seriousness, I'm available if you guys ever have any questions. I try not to leak alpha. That's kind of my job. But just know that we are working tirelessly to deliver some great content to you guys, some great new products that we hope you guys are happy about. And overall, I think we're gonna make it, and and we definitely love the cats. So
Yeah.
that's all. I appreciate it.
Yeah, year 2 is going to be an exciting one for Cool Cats. And then before we conclude the spaces, Hawkward, what was your surprise event? What did you do?
I'm gonna live hatch my last cool pet so far because I might have to get some more. But so I actually traded a piece of my art for 100K plus tip milk from you, the good night, and it was really sweet and enjoy. But sorry, I'm trying to multitask, so I'm like talking weird again.
She turned into robot Hawkward.
Yeah, I think you're cutting out because the Cooltopia blockchain team is taking your bandwidth.
No.
No.
You're good now.
Okay.
Talk us through it. Are you
All right.
Are
I'm
you on
gonna
the
do
meow
an
pad?
element hatch.
Where are we?
Thanks for the milk. Good night. I was saying how we traded. I sold for milk my artwork. Right? Can you hear me?
So you're doing a straight up like 100K. You're gonna choose the element. Like you're not doing the fast hatch. Okay.
I ran out. Well, I was hatching a water pet and it changed at the last minute, and I didn't have any water stuff left, so I had to do a grass pet that I'm probably gonna trade or something because I don't like him. But yeah, I'm choosing water immediately. Yes, hatch. All right. I don't know if I have the sound on. Oh yeah, here we go.
And if you tweet it, we can pin it. Oh, we hear it.
Oh my god! It has a ducky. That was the one thing I wanted, was a ducky. But also,
I love it.
It has a frog on its head as well.
Oh my god!
And a ditto face. All right, here we go. I gotta save image as. Oh my.
Whoa! Don't be right-click saving.
Yeah,
yeah, low key. I think the water pets have the best accessory traits, like the little ducky, the things on the head, the little floaty balloon thing. I think water pets have my favorite traits.
All right, where did that picture go? Uh-oh. It's so cute, guys. I'm so glad it's not ugly.
It was worth the 100K hatch.
If I got a trunk, I'd probably, no offense to the people who love their trunk pets, like mad respect to y'all.
No, she'd be listing below floor right now on for sure.
All right, I forgot how to use a computer out of all my excitement, but I do want to tweet it out. All right, yeah, it's in my downloads folder.
Tweet it out. In the meantime, while Hawkward pulls up her water pet, I'll give a heads up. The next space is next Wednesday. We will be having Kittycakes, who's an illustrator on the Cool Cats team. So she works with Clon, the creative director, obviously, to help bring a lot of his illustrations to life. And I think what'll be interesting talking to Kittycakes about is something she talked about in one of her replies was, it's actually really tough to draw someone else's art and have them approve it and be good with it. But also, I think it'll give us an insight glimpse into like how does Clon work with a team of artists to create everything that we see, whether it's from social media, whether it's on the Cool Cats website, whether it's on the merch, or whether it's for the NFTs. We know that Kittycakes designed one of the legendary one-of-one cool pets. So I think like they're the undersung heroes of Cool Cats, where they're really the thing that resonates first and most of all, the art. So excited to have Kittycakes on next week as our guest.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It was interesting to hear Clon talk about that, but it'll be cool to hear from like how one artist kind of adopts like an existing style, because that always fascinates me in art, and I just love talking about art.
For sure.
And I will chime in. Kittycakes is awesome. I love working with her, and I work with her regularly. So you guys are gonna enjoy hearing what she has to say, adopting Clon's art style, their history. They've been friends for a while, so I'm excited to hear more about her next week as well.
Awesome.
And like what she's come up with too, because like Clon said that like the team is like coming out with all these innovations. He's kind of giving them a little bit of liberty artistically, and it's cool to see. Anyway, I found my thing.
No, I look at that pet, so cute. The ditto face. You've got the three characters in one. This is
Its face
awesome.
like matches the frog, and it has like I couldn't be happier. It's amazing.
This was an awesome 100K worth. This was an awesome instant hatch. So good job with that, Hawkward. I am an owner of a Hawkward glitch art now too, so everyone wins in this situation. But again, I want to thank everyone that came up on stage, co-hosts. We got Hawkward, Sniper, Zupa, as usual. You guys are awesome and key leaders in the community and help put this together. Jarvis, again, thank you so much. I see a ton of other people in the crowd that we just love so much in the community, and some of the team as well too. So just want to say thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next week to talk Cool Cats art and illustrations. But until then, we like the cats.
We like the cats.
Yeah, we like the cats.
And the pets.
Cheers, guys. Have a great night.
And
have a good one, Jarvis.